Broadcasting live from the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, Arizona, in the heart of the great American Southwest. It's Erskine Overnight. Now, here's Erskine.
It's a great honor to be speaking tonight with Professor Donald Scott from Ontario, Canada, who offers us information about AIDS and chronic fatigue, the crime beyond belief. AIDS was developed in a laboratory, and his book goes into a great deal about that. It has a connection to John F. Kennedy's assassination, which it goes into a great deal about that also. And it was delivered into smallpox vaccinations in Africa, and then later hepatitis vaccinations in New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, targeted for black and homosexual audiences, black and homosexuals around the world, because they were the people that most folks wouldn't really care that much about. Let's just put it right down to it. That is the situation. 8,000 a day dying right now, and that isn't the main concern of the world. We have another situation to where in the Belgium had one developed, another one was developed in Portugal, and Portugal and Belgium used their military power to ensure that citizens of their occupied colonies in Africa and India, took the free smallpox vaccines that were pushed upon them in the mid-60s and early 70s. I'm quoting from the book AIDS, the Crime Beyond Belief. Used the military to make sure they had the vaccines. And they would go in and they'd vaccinate a tribe against smallpox. Sure, they stopped smallpox, but the entire tribe would die from AIDS. So there you have it on the AIDS being developed in the laboratory and being used for the eugenics program under the auspices of Rockefeller, under the auspices of McCain advisor Dr. Henry Kissinger, who had played a pivotal point in this, and that covers AIDS. But the other one which was developed was chronic fatigue. How did they propose to deliver the chronic fatigue, the mycoplasma that caused chronic fatigue? What was their mechanism of delivery on that one, Professor Scott?
Well, there were three mechanisms. One was by air, one was by the food chain, and one was by fluid exchange, especially blood. Now, it needs to be noted that this was really getting underway full bore when Rockefeller was in the administration of Eisenhower, and it was intended that Richard Nixon would succeed Eisenhower and things would carry on as usual. But a funny thing happened on the way to the election. Nixon was not elected president after Eisenhower, but John F. Kennedy was. Now, John F. Kennedy did not support eugenics programs. It was his view, and he stated it on a number of occasions, that once people in third world countries begin to experience a better standard of living, a more secure level of income, and so on, that they will limit the size of their families on their own, just like they do in the United States and Canada and Britain and so on today. Most families don't have more than one or two children. Some have more, but that's for individual personal reasons. But this was John F. Kennedy's view, and he made it known that he did not like eugenics programs, and he did not think the U.S. government should be involved. So when he won the election, the National Institute for Health and the Department of Defense and so on, they kind of went underground with their work, and very little was done in the 3 years that John F. Kennedy was president. But when that arch criminal Lyndon B. Johnson succeeded him, the programs were back in full force, and this got the disease agent for the chronic fatigue well underway, and there's a whole lot of evidence we have, but in the June 9th, 1969 hearings that were held between the Department of Defense and 12 congressmen who were on what they called the Black Budget Committee, approving illicit, illegal activities that they wanted to finance by the U.S. government, but they didn't want the people of the U.S. to know they were doing it. At that June 9, 1969 meeting, MacArthur said that the disease agent for the disabling disease could be carried by aerosol, or by insect vector. Now, the insect vector they had in mind, of course, was the mosquito, but also the deer, tick, and other insects could carry it. But this had all been put on hold during Kennedy's period in office, and then just got back under Lyndon B. Johnson under the guise of the what they call this viral virus program, and the special virus leukemia program, and other disguises. And it was in the middle of the 1970s and early 1980s that they really began testing the communication or spread of the disabling agent. And one way to do it was, as we mentioned, was by air. Now, they had to test this, and it is our evidence now that the testing was done in different places, but the most important test was done at Tahoe Truckee High School in Nevada. It was on the border of California, and there were California students and so on involved. But at that high school, in 1984, I believe it was, during the summer, the school was shut down, and the air conditioning system was torn out, and a new air conditioning system was put back in, but it was different from the old one. The old one took air from all the rooms, heated it or cooled it, and put it back into the rooms indiscriminately. The new air conditioning system in Tahoe Truckee took the air from one room, took it to the heater or to the air conditioner, whichever, and took it back to the same room. So that the people in that room breathed the same air over and over again all day long. And there was a group of teachers assigned to one staff room. Only 8 teachers were assigned to it. The bigger staff room, they said, was too crowded to allow them in. So they were given a smaller staff room. But they found that not only was the air conditioning reprocessed same air, but it was also the windows were tightly closed and sealed, and they were told that under no circumstances were they to open the windows. But the teachers in that room, that workroom, every time they had a period to mark papers or to have lunch or whatever, they complained about the quality of the air. There was something about it they didn't like. And one guy said, well, I'm not going to put up with this any longer, so he brought a trailer from his home to the schoolyard, parked it, and whenever he had an hour for marking papers or a spare or a lunch period, he went to his trailer. The other 7 teachers used the room that they had been given. And by the end of the year, all 7 of those people had chronic fatigue syndrome. The only teacher that didn't have it was the one who used a trailer in the schoolyard. So they were testing aerosol distribution of the disease agent to carry chronic fatigue. Now, they also had to test that how does food carry it. Well, that was done in Lyndonville, New York. In Lyndonville,
we'll talk about the food when we get back. And the schoolhouse, much like an airplane, if you think about it, with the same air being redistributed. Air on chronic fatigue, food. More when we get back on Erskine Overnight with Professor Donald Scott. AIDS, the crime beyond belief. How do they deliver chronic fatigue? Okay, you've got air as one. Due to the Truckee experiments, we know that is a possibility. And secondly, Professor Donald Scott is telling us in his book, AIDS, the Crime Beyond Belief, written with his son, William L.C. Scott, that the second way is through the food system. Through food, I mean, everybody goes to the store, buys your food. I mean, what type of food? I mean, is it put in the McDonald's hamburgers or something? Where does it go?
The source in this particular